Mr. Tips, Timothy Mott called you on August 8th, 2015, and requested your help to have Mission Park handle the final disposition, the funeral service, and cremation of his daughter, Julie Mott, correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And in fact, the service, the independent contractor service that your company was using, picked up Julie's remains, her body, and took her to their facility. Do you know where Julie Mott was on Sunday, August 9th, Monday, August 10th, Tuesday, August 11th, or Wednesday, August 12th?
I could have called Fred Byer, yes, sir.
Is that something you knew when you told Tim Mott that the people that would show up at the Mott residence were not Mission Park employees?
I honestly didn't think of it at that time because I consider Fred to be family. He's been with us since he was 18 years old.
Do you know today where Julie Mott was on those days?
I would ask Fred.
So as we sit here today, you still don't know whether Julie Mott was at a Mission Park facility or at some other place. Is that
I do
correct?
know. I do know.
So in the last 6 months, you've learned some information you did not have.
No, it would always be the same.
Well, do you recall giving a different answer when I asked you about where Julie Mott's body was?
No, sir. I'm sure I don't.
Do you recall telling me that you didn't have any knowledge about Julie Mott being embalmed at Byner & Vidal on August 8th, 2015?
No, I did not know.
And represent to you, that's what you told me under oath 6 months ago when we took your deposition. Does that ring a bell?
Yes, sir.
And when I asked you if you knew where Julie Mott's remains were on Sunday, August 9th, 2015, do you recall telling me that you did not know where her remains were?
Yes, sir.
And I asked you the same question for the 10th, correct?
Same question, what?
For the 10th of August?
Yes, sir.
And you did not know where she was, correct?
Yes, sir. I would have deferred to Fred.
Sir Catherine, can you get your microphone closer to you, please?
Sure. Would it be fair to say that the decision to represent to all of us in San Antonio and to the Mott family that when you entrust your loved one to us, they never leave our care, custody, and control, that you approve that statement?
Yes, sir, I do.
And in fact, it's placed on the folder that was given to the Motts when they came in for the arrangements conference and signed the contract?
Yes, sir. With just one call, we take care of everything.
In that folder, your funeral directors are authorized or even instructed to utilize the folder that has exactly this on it to give to prospective families and customers of Mission Park, including the Motts, correct?
That is correct, sir.
Would it be fair to say that your company, MPII Inc., has been outsourcing and using a independent contractor for transportation and embalming of deceased loved ones entrusted to Mission Park as far back as at least 2006?
Yes, sir.
And we've already agreed that the two people that came to the Mott house, Alan Capraro and Holly Lear, were not Mission Park employees, correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
When did you learn that Alan Capraro and Holly Charlene Lear were not employees of Mission Park?
I believe you told me, sir.
So when I took your deposition on June 26, 2017, about 6 months ago, about almost 2 years after Julie Mott disappeared from one of your funeral homes, that was the first time that you learned that the two people that you sent to the Mott residence to pick up Julie Mott's remains were not employees of Mission Park. Is that correct?
That would be correct.
But you've known that your company, with your approval, has outsourced the transportation, the pickup, the first call at a residence where a licensed funeral director must be present and present to accept the body from the family to take back to a funeral provider facility.
That's correct, yes, sir.
And you did not know who these people were, correct?
Not all of them, no, sir.
Well, in August of 2015, did you know any of the drivers and funeral directors that worked at Byron Vital?
I do.
Okay. How many employees worked at Byron Vital in August of 2015?
I don't know, sir. We'd have to ask Fred Byer.
And so that's something you still don't know to this day, correct?
That's correct, yes, sir.
And you don't know if background checks are done on those employees, correct?
If they're licensed funeral directors, I believe they are.
All right, and that would be a
That's a Fred question. I'm sorry, sir.
But there are embalmers who are licensed, and then there are drivers who are not licensed, except for a driver's license, correct?
That's correct.
And so the drivers don't have any type of criminal background check, correct?
I wouldn't know that without talking to Fred, sir.
And so back in August of 2015, at your deposition 6 months ago, and sitting here today, you don't know if there were a number of employees that had not gone through a background check, correct?
That's correct.
And as we sit here today, you still haven't learned that from Fred Byer, correct?
That's correct.
Do you know what Alan Capraro and Holly Lear, the Byron Vital employees of the outsourced independent contractor company, are you aware of how they represented themselves to the Mott family when they appeared at the Mott residence on the morning of August 8th, 2015 for the first call to pick up Julie's body?
No, sir, I do not.
Would it surprise you if Alan Capraro and Holly Lear stated that they were with Mission Park North?
No, that would not surprise me.
And the lack of surprise that these two people that do not work for your company, that you have no control over because they don't work for your company, it doesn't surprise you that they are representing to the families that entrust their loved ones to Mission Park, that they're representing themselves as if they are employees.
You're representing Mission Park.
That's a duty that you decided was going to be delegated to an independent contractor service and let them decide who is going to maintain the custody of the deceased loved one, correct?
Could you ask that question again, please, sir? Sorry.
When Alan Capraro and Holly Lear presented at the Mott residence on August 8th, 2015, and represented to the Motts, we're with Mission Park North. Are you with me so far?
Yes, sir, I am. Thank you.
Would you agree with me that Mission Park, your company, MPII Incorporated, did not take custody of Julie Mott?
No, sir.
So custody, as I understand it, to you and to MPII Inc., and I guess RD Tips Inc. too, means that somebody has custody of Julie Mott based on a phone call where you make the arrangements, but it's not going to be an MPII Inc. employee that you have control over, correct?
That's correct.
And in fact, it could be an employee that has not gone through a background check, correct?
That's possible.
And it could be that somebody that you would not approve of because you don't know who these employees are, correct?
That's not true.
Well, can you tell me how many employees Byron Vidal had back in August of 2015?
No, sir, I cannot.
Can you tell me how many employees Byron Vidal has today?
No, sir, I cannot.
Can you tell me if there's a high turnover rate among the employees at Byron Vidal?
No, sir, I cannot.
And are you still comfortable? And do you still do it today? Where you represent that when you entrust a loved one to Mission Park, they never leave our care, custody, and control. That when you outsource to an independent contractor and let them decide who is going to come to the residences of the families that trust Mission Park and take possession of their most valuable asset, is that something you still do today?
And they represent Mission Park well. Thank you.
Is there anything in writing between your company and Byron Vidal that spells out exactly the standards that you expect of these people that you're delegating this duty to represent Mission Park when they come to the families that trust Mission Park as their most valuable asset?
Is there something in writing between Mission Park?
Yeah, that spells out what those expectations are, the rules, policies, because, and Mr. Tips, the reason I'm asking you this question is I think the jury needs to know. You make the representation that when you trust your most valuable asset to Mission Park, they never leave our care, custody, and control. You then hire a independent contractor with employees that are not under your control, whether to hire or fire, discipline, review, come and go, don't know what the turnover rate is. And I think the jury needs to know what is done between Mission Park and Byron Vidal to spell out we're outsourcing. We're not telling these families that we're outsourcing. In fact, we're advertising that we don't outsource. And we want to make sure that you're representing us well. Is there anything in writing that dictates here is the policies, the procedures, the rules that you must follow?
That would be a question from Michael Hoffman, our general manager, sir.
Well, we asked Michael Hoffman, and really this goes down to the relationship between Mission Park and Byron Vidal. We asked for all these communications. In fact, we subpoenaed all communications between Mission Park and PII Inc. and Byron Vidal dealing with what they do to maintain the security of the deceased loved ones. And do you know what we got in return?
No, sir.
We got the 3-page contract, the subcontractor agreement between MPII Inc. and Byron Vidal that was entered into in 2008. Are you familiar with that document?
Yes, sir.
In fact, you negotiated that document with Fred Beyer
I did, sir.
back in 2008.
That's correct, sir.
And so we subpoenaed from Mr. Beyer all records that show communications that deal with the security of deceased loved ones. And when Mission Park delegates that duty to take custody of the bodies. And all we got was that 3-page contract. Nothing else, no text, no emails, no letters, no correspondence, no codicils or addendums to the agreement. Were you aware of that?
No, sir, I was not.
Do you recall the terms of that agreement?
No, sir.
Okay. Would you like to see the agreement up on the screen?
Yes, sir.